It's time for the Maximum PC No BS podcast, episode 225 for the week of June 4th, 2014. On today's episode, we'll be discussing Steam Machine delays, truly affordable 4K monitors, Pentium K, and Android laptops. We'll also, of course, wrap things up by taking some of your questions, giving you our editor's picks, and end with a rant from Gordon. All that and more is coming up right now. All right, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Jimmy Thang, and joining me are managing editor Elena Yee.
Hello.
Associate editor Tom McNamara.
Greetings, listeners and or viewers.
Editor-in-chief Gordon Maung.
Hello.
And we'll just start it off with our first topic, and this one I chose, and it's the news that Valve has basically said they're going to delay the Steam controller until 2015. And if you've been following the Steam machines, this also essentially means that the Steam machine themselves are delayed because Valve has basically said that Steam machines wouldn't come out until the controller is ready. So, I mean, what do you guys think about this? I know it was slated. I was talking to a couple of different Steam machine vendors.
Well, they
said they were slated for Q4 2014.
Right. The Valve seems to consider the controller like an integral part of the experience. Like, they don't consider it to be ready as an actual product until they can bundle that with the controller, which is supposed to be part of the whole kit, you know? So for them to have to delay that a whole year, from what we were hearing from some of vendors who will remain anonymous, they did not see this coming. You know, they did not expect this to happen. They seemed like they were all on track to see the controller come out this year and maybe just in a few months from now. So they seemed kind of upset. You talked to them directly. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to name the vendor, but it seems like Valve is known for being very mysterious, and unfortunately, it seems, at least to this particular vendor, maybe more, they were also very mysterious when it came to news, and so this vendor didn't really find out until the rest of us did, you know. And that's a bit. I mean, if you're a Valve's partner, so that's a little bit messed up.
That's pretty normal.
They found out from reading about it in the news. That sucks.
Yeah. That is a Valve MO thing, though, right? They really just don't.
Valve has never really had a hardware partner before, so.
Yeah, but even so, you know, and I'll say, because I went to CES as well with you back in January, which is 6 months ago, and even there, after the launch event, I was hearing from multiple vendors, not just one, that people were like, what is going on? They're not telling us anything. Like, we can't get any news. We can't get information. They tell you guys, meaning the media, more than they tell us. And people were just kind of like, what? They're just really... And these are people who are, you know, had shown off machines, and they're going to build Steam boxes. They're committed to it, Steam machines. And they said, they're not telling us anything. So it's not really too new, but... I guess something as major as basically, oh, you're not going to be able to sell your Steam machine until 2015 seems like they should give them an email at least, or a text message. Hey, what are you doing for lunch? Oh, by the way, you can't sell that product till next year.
Yeah, they play their cards very close, and I would love to be able to talk to them just about that and like get some insight into why they're so quiet about pretty much everything that they do, you know. But then they might not even respond to that inquiry.
Well, I guess, of course, the other big question is how bad does this hurt the Steam machine, right? Because originally, it's kind of funny. I really thought back when they showed off Big Picture, I mean, they came out with Big Picture mode, like almost a year and a half ago. I really thought, because we were between consoles were way done by then, old technology. I really thought, like, wow, you do Big Picture, Alienware X51, holy shit, you've got a PC console in the living room. But they didn't really push it very hard. They didn't really pursue it. And then, of course, we got PS4. Well, Valve.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, you and I were talking back then, and I remember arguing with you about that.
Right.
Because even now, I still don't think that unless games are optimized for the controller, it's just not going to feel right.
Right, but I mean, I thought the whole idea was like, because they, the big picture mode worked really well. It worked with at that time the Xbox controller, which is the most popular controller, still a 360
Right.
controller. Everybody knows the controller. They've got the controller. It doesn't take the developers that much to update their games to support a controller.
But it's not a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee, but then I really would have thought that Steam or Valve would have said, "Hey, you guys do this. We'll give you this break. Update this stuff. We're making a big push into the living room with big picture and basically PCs, Windows PCs."
If you could get them on board for that, then yeah.
Right, why not? And I mean, the nice thing is that at least they did upgrade. The games will tell you if they have controller support, partial controller support in big picture, but they really just what happened? Then it turned into, we're doing our whole Steam machine thing, and then a year and a half later, is it too late now? So getting back to my original point, is it going to be too late for Steam machine by the time it comes out next year? Right. We don't even know. They said 2015. What does that mean? January or December?
Well, is the controller intended to be compatible with every game on Steam out of the box?
Yes. Even strategy games.
Okay, because that is an advantage over the 360 controller, because that has to be programmed for compatibility by each developer, right?
Yeah, I mean, but the Valve the Steam library is huge. I doubt you'll get 100% fidelity. Right, because there's just not every game that will support it.
Well, in the backlog, yeah, but going forward, though.
Right, going forward.
I guess the advantage, what I'm saying is that the advantage of the Steam controller is that it was supposed to be very highly compatible, even more so than the 360 controller.
Right.
For less effort on the developer's part. They didn't have to spend as many resources.
Ideally, I mean, there would be no effort on the developer, because the idea behind the controller is that it's supposed to emulate, it's using software emulation to mimic a keyboard and mouse.
Okay.
Well, but there are some things you still need keyboard for, right? That you can't.
Right.
You're not going to be able to do everything.
Yeah, you can't do an RTS.
And I am a fan of the original Steam controller that I tried. But what I wonder, though, is there any room for it? Well, right now, the consoles are still building up steam.
Is that fun?
And then you get to middle of next year, summer of next year. I mean, PS4, Xbox One will be firmly established as the experience for console gaming in the living room. Is there room left at that point?
It just really depends on how holiday season goes for the consoles.
Right.
Yeah.
It's always big for those guys.
Well, I mean, next week or this coming week, we'll see at E3 what they announce in terms of exclusives and what people can expect to see on those consoles going forward in 2015. So, I mean, there could be room. There might not be room. It just really depends on what the other.
Right. But, I mean, so my thought is like, well, maybe if they had just stuck with, I know that, they were very unhappy. Everybody was unhappy with Windows 8 and Metro and where it was going. Microsoft seems to have backed off of that. But it's like, maybe the thing is just simply go with Windows at this point. Yeah, it's probably not the greatest. It's not everything you want, but everything's there. Drivers are there. You've got all support. Why not just do, big picture mode instead? Would it get them there faster?
Are you saying that you think SteamOS might lose popularity with developers now?
No, I'm just kind of wondering, is there any point to it in the middle of 2015 at this point?
Well, if there's one developer that is that can get away with being like time agnostic, it's Valve. They could release they could release Half-Life 3, tomorrow, and people would just be bonkers over it. Yeah. So for them, time really has been
meaning.
But that's an established franchise, though. This is a whole new concept.
Right. Of course, I guess the ultimate fantasy that was Half-Life 3 on SteamOS only, or first on SteamOS. Would that boot SteamOS and Steam machines into?
Oh, for sure.
Well, yeah, but I think it would be crazier for them to do that, because SteamOS is like less than 1% of the.
Well, SteamOS, yeah, I mean that's.
Yeah.
Not even. I doubt
even
it's
like 1/100.
I'm sure.
Their customer support for them would basically melt.
Right.
So
it would be totally genius, though. I mean, look what Halo did for the original Xbox.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. I mean, that delay, I guess it does work for them, but at the same time, it's just like it's a little scary, especially if you're a hardware partner and you're kind of wed to this whole concept.
Yeah.
And, of course, not all of them really got in, right? Because, I mean, a lot of the vendors, they just basically had PCs loaded with SteamOS. No big deal. They don't lose anything.
Just in small form factor chassis.
I mean, Alienware, it's interesting to me. Like, Alienware is, I think, the one that really has gone in whole hog on this. Because theirs is a fully custom design machine. It's just not off the shelf stuff.
Well, I know that Valve, at least in the case of Left 4 Dead 2, they were getting a lot better performance from their Linux version of the game, native Linux version of the game, than they were from the Windows version. And they're like, it seems like we can get closer to the hardware than we can in Windows, and maybe other developers can too.
Yeah. Right, but at the same time, isn't that just simply Microsoft, for a long time now, has just taken the PC gaming crowd for granted, right?
Yeah, that could be.
I mean, but now we've got, DirectX 12. We're actually going to do DirectX 12.
From my
we're going to get you
understanding,
closer to the metal.
DirectX 12 is still going to be based around the DirectX API, which I hear is messy.
Sure. I mean,
so it's like fundamentally like flawed or slow or...
Well, it is fundamentally flawed because it is something that was designed...
It's very legacy.
It's very legacy based, which is bad and good. You have, I can play my DirectX, 9 game on my PC, right? That's a good thing. So,
yeah,
I don't think that's necessarily bad, but yeah, you do definitely eat some performance cycles and dealing with all the abstraction layers in there.
Right. But modern video cards are going to support like OpenGL and all that stuff too. So
yeah, but I mean, do we want to go back to the days of DOS where they're basically writing the drivers practically to get their games to run? I mean, so
yeah.
Hey, I don't know. We're kind of all over the place right now, but I don't know. I do know as a person in the media now we're going to see the backlash. Have you guys seen any backlash stories? Because we build up hype, SteamOS, Steambox, second coming of whatever. And then now,
I think
it's like now here. Now people start to get angry, and where is it?
I think everybody was excited about SteamOS. I don't think it needed any hype from the press.
But we're still excited about it.
Valve was hyping the crap out of it.
I don't know if Valve was, but I think the media was hyping it
with those full page like teaser images of the glowing orb thing.
Sure. In fact, we're probably going to do a story just to hype it because we're the media. But but I just think that
we're riding the wave.
But we're firmly in the backlash.
The wave.
We're going to hit the backlash. You're going to see a lot more stories. I think going, like I just said. Is there room for Steam Machine? Is it over? Just put a fork in it. It's done.
I think it's too far.
I think it's
too early to say.
I don't think you're going to see it before the machine comes out. I think the longer they wait, though, the more likely the feedback will be harsher when people finally get their hands on it, because the glow will be gone.
Right. People aren't just excited. But of course, it'll be more polished. But
but I mean, like,
expectations higher or lower by the time it launches.
The honeymoon is now over.
Right.
But I'm saying that if any company can get away with it, it's Valve, right? Because it's like people waited a long time for Half-Life 2, and that came out, and people were like, oh shit, this is the greatest thing ever. Portal 2, and so on and so forth.
But but you're citing sequels though. Like you have to compare it to like the first time.
I know. I'm just talking about the
launched.
fact that it's a long time coming, and when Valve has had been in that situation, they've pretty much always pulled through. I'm not saying they're going to pull through this time, but I'm saying if anybody can do it, they probably can. I think they're a smart company. They know what they're doing.
Right. No, I mean, definitely, I wouldn't say it's over, but I will say the media that has nothing to do but just, stir the pot now at this point, people are going to be like, you will see mainstream tech media, people like, well, what the hell, where's this damn thing? It's not going to happen, right? People are going to say it's too late. Especially we're going to go into Christmas. Microsoft's going to get on stage. They're going to be all giddy with how many they sold. Sony's going to get on stage. We've sold this much. And then where are you going to be able to jam in the Steam Machine in there by summer of 2015 if you're lucky, right?
Yeah. I think even if the Steam Machine becomes a success, I don't think it's going to be an overnight sensation. I think it's going to be more of a slow burn.
Sure.
Kind of like Steam was. Steam was a
right. We all remember, right? Steam was a mess when it came out.
Steam was really hated when it first came out. It was a big piece of DRM, and it still is a big piece of DRM. But
people didn't like having to... You buy the game physically in a store, and you take it home, then you have to activate it with an online service and you wouldn't even get to play it until you could log in, and sometimes
a single player game
can't log in. Yeah,
right. Of course, the world has changed since then.
Yeah. Don't see that kind of thing anymore.
So I wrote about this on the website, but and I know it sucks for consumers, but arguably it's even worse for the partners, right? So because if you've spent money in R&D to design hardware around it,
they've already made projections and how much money they expected to make, how many units they expected to move, and they were telling. In some cases, they were probably telling info to shareholders, and shareholders are making their own.
Yeah, retail partners and all that stuff too. So where do they go? I mean, do you just, if you were them, would you release it now as a Windows
big picture box
with big picture, or would you wait And there's pros and cons to it.
I don't know. It's really tough. I mean, that's the problem. We know, I mean, hardware, it's like bread, right? It's very perishable.
And it goes out of date very quickly. So I would just try to move those units to something else rather than let them collect dust and let the hardware get,
That seems to be the consensus from the commenters online. And I definitely see the merit in that. I think the big negative thing is that if they do release it now, they won't be able to call it a Steam machine. So essentially, it would just be another PC.
But maybe they could do it retroactively when they.
Yeah, I'm sure they would have to refresh it.
Yeah.
Like they refresh it as a Steam machine, Q1 2015 or whatever it comes out. But then the luster's sort of gone, the excitement.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they're worried about. Anyways, let's move on to our next topic. Apparently, Intel's been predicting that 4K monitors are going to be very affordable. Tom, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it was, let's see, Kirk, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, Skaugen, Senior Vice President and General Manager of the PC Client Group at Intel. And he was predicting that 4K monitors would drop below $400 before 2015. Which, if my math is correct, is before the end of this year.
You mean 2015?
That's, below $400 before 2015. So that would be...
Before 2015.
Yeah,
okay.
which would be this year. You'd expect 4K monitors to be below $400, which is a huge...
Well,
No, that's not that far away. I see it.
I mean, they're floating around $800 like today.
No.
Yeah, they are.
well, don't forget too that you can kind of say that about that and like still count like Black Friday like loss leader sales as,
I
as
guess,
part of that.
Even still, that's pretty damn good.
Well,
I mean, people are paying that much right now for like a really nice
IPS screen.
Yeah, these are not IPS panels.
Like 20,
these are TN panels. Like the example is, I went down for the Z97 briefing at ASUS. They also showed us their 4K panels and stuff. They had their 4K panel that was $799 in January that they talked about, and of course we saw it again. And then while we were talking to them, they did the sales tactic, which I think they did fake. Actually, they said it wasn't, but it's like the sales manager thing. So we're looking at the model, and then the marketing head comes over. She goes, "Oh, that panel's now $650." It's like, "Oh, it was $799 at CES. Now it's $650." It's like, we're going to give you the floor mats too. But that $650, that panel's coming out very soon, and that's a TN panel, very nice. It's actually a very nice TN panel. Off-axis is not bad.
What's also interesting to me is that I think the standard for the desktop right now is like a 1080p panel, 1080p,
right?
Like one, maybe two 1080p monitors.
No, one.
Whereas like 4K is going to quadruple the amount of resolution on your desktop, and I don't think we've ever seen a jump like that before, have we? A fourfold jump?
No.
Inside of a year?
Not for the price. The breakthrough is the price. Because
Right.
if you think of it, we went from what? We went from 1080p 24s, then it was 30-inch panels, and then we just sat there for like 7 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So now we go to 4K panels, different sizes. And
Yeah.
and the thing about those 30-inch panels, they never really got that cheap.
Well, and the other thing is that I was looking at the Valve hardware survey for different like resolutions, and 2560 was like hovering around less than 1%.
Sure.
Yeah, it's been not really been that popular. People would rather just have multiple 1080p panel monitors, maybe just one 1080p monitor, whereas
1080, but you know what? 30 inches, $400 is not a mainstream price, right? Mainstream price is $140.
He's saying below $400.
Yeah, below, but $399. Where you're not. I don't think anybody's expecting $150 for a 4K panel.
No, I don't think so.
It'll be $399
Sure.
by the end of the year. Somebody will have a $399 panel.
They'll probably be like she said, a Black Friday sale.
Right.
Right. I mean, I really believe the price to get, but I mean,
It does.
honestly, the average person the average desktop user is not running a 30-inch,
Yeah.
Right.
a 2560.
I'm running a
by
24-inch
1600,
1080p.
right?
Got a couple of those.
Right. They're all. I mean, I really think the price for most people is $140. These days.
Yeah, that sounds about
So
right.
this is not going to be a mainstream panel.
Yeah.
It'll be nice though. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Is it? Do you think it's going to be 60 hertz or like 30?
It is, 30 is a failure all around. No one will do another 30 hertz panel. They have to be crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what Dell's gonna. I heard Dell's gonna take all those 4K 30 hertz panels.
And
And they're going to
bury
box them
them.
up, and they're going to bury them with those ET cartridges.
Nice.
Because it's like,
Well,
who
no,
wanted one of
they're
these?
going to take the ET cartridges out, and then
Oh,
they're
they
going to
put those 30 hertz Dell panels, yeah. Although that small Dell panel is nice, but that's 60 hertz,
Yeah, that 24-incher. Yeah, it's a very nice panel because of the
to be fair.
very, very good pixel density.
Yeah, that 30 hertz Dell thing was like, oh my God. That was like,
it was like, what would you use that for?
yeah,
You know?
unusable. For anybody who doesn't know, 30 hertz panels, unusable, period. Even for desktop. We're not talking about gaming. We're talking about just using as a desktop.
Yeah,
monitor.
the refresh just when you're moving around a window on the screen you can watch it just struggling to redraw the window.
Right.
It's not very pretty. Scrolling vertically in a browser, anything where things are moving on the screen, it's kind of ugly. Yeah.
At this point, do you guys want 4K panels yourselves at home? I mean, there's still some issues with sizing.
I mean,
you need a beefier video card.
That's the problem. Is that the major thing to use a 4K panel for right now is games, because there isn't a lot of 4K video content out there.
creation.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want one.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could only have one, like,
Yeah.
would you?
Yeah, I would run that. That Dell one, I don't have the vision for because it's too small, the 24-inch. But the
I don't think
Sharp / Asus one for 28.
I don't think anybody has the
28-incher?
vision for that one.
Yeah,
You know.
the
It's
28-incher one. would be-
Window scaling isn't all that.
just to get that real estate. Yeah, I would do
But
it.
if you want a game in 4K, you're looking at spending like $1,000 just for video cards to keep
Yeah.
up with that.
So if
Right.
you were a consumer, if you were a reader asking if they should get a 4K monitor this year, they could afford that. Pretty much just that. Would you say go for it? Because they would need to also get a beefy video card. You're in
There's a lot of caveats to that.
right. You have the advantage of just basically opening up a video card
Right.
closet.
borrowing one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, there's caveats. There's problems. Some games have issues with it. You've got to run a multi GPU setup, no doubt about it, or a double,
Yeah.
or an X2 or
Titan.
a Titan Z or whatever. Or, yeah, there's limitations. It's expensive, but I would say as a content creation guy, the idea of getting a 28-inch 4K panel, I'd be all over that.
You need to do with those tiny little buttons in Adobe Premiere, because
All right. So what if the monitor was TN? Would you still choose that over IPS?
Depends on how bad the TN is, because I mean, it really
TN
does
can
kill
be
photo
good.
editing. Yeah, it can be good, but I mean, yeah.
But for photo
ideally-
editing, you probably want IPS.
Yeah, it'd be hard to give up
Yeah, and
IPS.
also if we're talking at a $400 price point, there
It's
are going
gonna be
to be
TN.
some trade-offs
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah,
some compromises.
yeah, they're not going to be
Yeah.
the
Yep.
greatest panels.
You have to donate a liver. You have two of those, right?
Kidney.
At the kidney.
Kidney.
So I'm guessing
That's
you would,
confusing.
Jimmy, you would not do it. You just no.
I'd probably wait. I'm in no rush. I mean,
Yeah.
I want one eventually. I do.
Yeah, I'm happy with like I would be happy with the 2560 monitor. I don't currently have one.
Right.
Yeah.
Get one of those in like 27 inches.
Yeah, I think I'm with Tom on that.
Yeah.
At this
27?
point, eventually, right? In
Well, the
like,
27 IPSs are still about $600-700 though.
I haven't checked lately, to be
Yeah.
honest.
that seems a little bit pricier. My friend bought a 24-inch one for a lot less than that.
Well, not a 24.
24
Yeah,
inch
the
IPS.
2560s are kind
Yeah.
are going to be more than this monitor that I cited, because those are almost all IPS.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've seen a TN 2560.
No, they're all. I mean, a lot of so you can get those 27s that are just 1080p, which are not great panels, right?
Yeah,
Or you could do those.
because the pixel density
They're
is too
just
low at that
TVs.
point.
They're just bad TV screens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. They were almost always aimed at people who did photo video editing and nothing else. They never did TN panel versions of this.
No.
And I think I've said it in a podcast before, but if you're not familiar with what a TN and IPS is, IPS generally gives you greater viewing angles and more accurate colors.
Yeah, better contrast, better black levels.
Right.
Right.
Well, we were looking at some Chromebooks today.
Right.
One of them had IPS panel, and
Right.
two of them had a TN
HP
panel.
11.
And the
Chromebook
TN
11.
panels next to it looked terrible.
Toshiba 13 and the Acer C720. Yeah, they definitely, the TNs look terrible as far as off axis.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
The blacks
oh.
really look gray compared to the IPS panel.
you
Yeah.
really have to look at it at exactly the right angle for TN to look okay.
But I will say that the cheap IPS they're using in that Chromebook 11 isn't the best IPS. Because you actually sort of get into, you do a bunch of monitor testing, which is what I did And actually, the Acer actually had a technically better screen. They had better black levels. Even though you look at a picture, you go, "Wow, that IPS looks just beautiful." But you actually look at black levels and the white saturation points versus it, and it's like, wow, actually, the TN and the Acer was actually better.
Can you adjust any of that in software?
Not on the Chromebook. That
I know you can on a Windows desktop, and with NVIDIA and AMD cards, you can go to their control panels and tweak that a little bit.
No, not really on the Chromebooks.
Yeah.
You can't even Chromebooks. You can't even tell the thing when to go to sleep because it went to sleep in the middle of a benchmark. It's like, why? What? All three of them at the same time.
Is there like an extension that you can get for that? That'll
right. But you would think, like, isn't this some basic functionality you should actually have in Chrome OS?
Like, don't turn off unless if I don't want you to. Okay.
Right.
Seems pretty basic.
Yeah, but Google's probably like, wait, people actually benchmark these things?
Right. You can just see some engineer going, what?
Yeah.
What? I don't under. Why would you do that? Why not just tap the keyboard? People want the screen to stay on.
Yeah, we're sitting there testing USB sticks, like transfer speeds, and somebody's probably might scratch their head at that. But it's like, well, I want to know.
But if you're watching a movie, I assume it's not going to dim.
I don't know. We'll find out. I'll go back.
Probably. I'm going to guess it's app
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because on Android, if you're watching a movie, the screen won't dim. So I assume.
But that has to do with the app.
That's a different team. That's an Android team. We're doing Chrome OS.
Have you ever looked at the app permissions though? It'll actually say things like be able to control your screen or control this, and it's usually related to stuff like that. The app controls, like whether or not the screen will shut off.
Do you think there's like a pecking order at Google?
Oh,
sure.
Has to be.
Yeah, I'm on Android. Get out of the way in the lunch line. What are you doing here? What are you working on? Chrome OS, yeah, get behind me.
Google Plus.
Google Plus, get out of the building. No more free lunch for Google Plus people. Oh, man.
Those poor guys, they get so much shit.
That's pretty funny. I have friends that work at Google. I should ask.
Google Plus, yeah. I think it's like the Outlook guys at the Microsoft Office team. Yeah, I'm working on that new macro function in Excel. Oh, that's awesome. What are you working on? Outlook. Oh, yeah.
And it's Outlook for Mac.
Oh, yeah, that's even worse, right? But that's intentional.
I could probably give a rant about Outlook, but I won't.
For Mac? Oh, yeah.
Well, okay, so one thing that I don't like about Outlook, I don't know if it's for Mac
Free
as well.
bonus rant by Jimmy Thang.
Yeah. So one thing I don't like about it is if somebody sends you, if there's an email chain and somebody sends you an attachment, you can't go to the most recent email and access the attachment. You have to specifically find that particular email. So if you type in like Control F and you try to search for here it is attached or something like that, you'll see like 7 different emails that say that afterwards, but you have to find the specific one with the attachment, the original email.
Sounds like the web access client. The web client.
That is so dumb. And I also hate how if you're trying to look for old filter through old email messages, you scroll down, it shows you about 20, and then at the bottom it's like click here to see more. So you click it, and then you expand it, and then you go all the way back up at the 20, and you have to scroll down past those 20 again.
Yeah.
So dumb.
Anyways.
I'm taking some of Gordon's thunder.
Yeah.
All right, let's actually move on to a topic from Gordon. And Gordon, I believe you would like to talk about what we're calling the Pentium Ks.
Right, yeah. So obviously last night, it is June 4th today, Intel announced, its new Devil's Canyon processors. Well, I'll go over the specs on those. Core i7-40, 790K, we have talked about it, but we have official clock speeds now. So 4 gigahertz base clock, which is Intel's first 4 gigahertz chip, amazingly. They were actually Pentium 4, Pentium Ds that got up to like 3.9, but the Intel never broke 4 gigahertz, which is amazing. The chip turbos up to 4.4, of course, quad core with hyperthreading, 8 megs of cache, Intel HD 4600 graphics, whoopee. $339, so basically the current same price as the current K part, and 88 watts. And of course, it fits into 1150. And they have the i5 version, 4690, 3.5 gigahertz base clock, over turbo up to 3.9, no hyperthreading, a little less cache at 6 megs, 242, which replaces that Core i5 K part. Also 88 watts. Both of them supposedly only work in Z97, but motherboard vendors are now updating their motherboards, so they will work in high-quality Z87 boards. But the actually exciting part is the Pentium K, as I'm calling it, which is the Pentium G 3258.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah, I know. Gee,
Now, what makes this one so special?
it's unlocked. This is the first unlocked Pentium. It's actually anniversary edition, as we're calling it. It's got a base clock of 3.2 gigahertz, dual core, unlocked,
Dual
two
core.
threads.
Dual core.
Yeah, it's a dual core. Yeah, I know, but it is unlocked. And 3.2. Intel HD graphics, which is like, it doesn't even have a number, so you know how good it is. 53 watt TDP part, $72.
That's awesome.
Right, so that'll be this. We don't know. Nobody's tested it as far as I know, although usually Tom's Hardware gets these early leaks. But I imagine this part will be the awesome kind of cheap gamer part, I think, because it's 3.2. You've got a really low TDP. It's only dual core, so you can probably overclock the hell out of this thing.
I remember those old Celeron 400s, like 400 megahertz. Those could overclock to like 800.
Right.
Because they didn't have an L3 cache, so they were able to run a little bit cooler.
Yeah, so the expectation is people can just overclock the hell out of these. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. We'll see. Hopefully, once we get a part, we'll have to go out and buy one once they're available.
Yeah.
Since they're so cheap. But $72, could be competitive with AMD's Kavari parts.
Could be.
Maybe.
Kavari is actually scales up even higher, right?
Yeah, I mean Kavari's unlocked. It is a quad core part.
Much
but
better,
as we know, high Haswell IPC is better. So clock
much
for
better
clock.
graphics probably. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah. There's no question about that. Kavari, if you're actually building a machine with no graphics, Kavari will be better.
Yeah. Right.
But I don't think people are going to put this in a box with integrated graphics. So you buy this $72, right? $72 CPU,
and put it
$100
like
motherboard, $80 motherboard,
$100 motherboard. I don't know, man.
$70 motherboard.
And if you want to like seriously overclock a CPU,
you can actually go pretty far with these cheap boards.
Yeah.
And then you put $150 GPU in there.
750 Ti. It's under $100 or whatever.
You could have a pretty nice game-worthy box.
Yeah.
Although for what, $600 maybe $700.
Way less.
We should do a build around that.
Yeah, we want to.
Pentium
once we get a part.
K or whatever it's called plus 750 Ti plus a cheap motherboard.
But I guess the one limitation though, right?
$400, man.
Well, I don't know. OS is $100.
Sure.
Right.
Well, I don't always want to count that because you could move the license from your old computer to your new computer. No, but still,
you're looking at the total cost. You can't.
Yeah,
people have to expect to pay for a license or have a disk,
yeah,
which you've already paid for. You could say I've got my old Core i5, so it's free. But the thing is, now the question to me is the dual core going to hold it back? Is a dual core enough for gaming today?
I don't think so. But then I
low end gaming though, you're going to turn some things down.
Yeah, the dual core does hurt.
You're not going to put a Titan Z or a X2 with this thing, right?
I'm looking forward to being able to answer that question definitively.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think there are some games like Wolfenstein that require a quad core part now, right?
I don't know. They say they run better. We have i3 Haswell parts we could spool up with a game.
I did some FRAPS benchmarks on a system that has an i7 4770K and a 780 Ti, and I did it with hyperthreading enabled, so that was 8 threads altogether, and I was getting about the same exact frame rate when I turned hyperthreading off, running through the same section of the game, the opening section. So on that particular game, I didn't see a lot of difference, but when we ran Watch Dogs just a couple days ago on that hex core 3960X system,
Sandy Bridge G part.
It was using 6 threads pretty actively. So I think it depends on the game. I think we're going to see that more and more as we see games where these new consoles are the lead development platform because those are highly multi-threaded.
Right.
And they have that shared memory, video, and system RAM.
Right.
So
speaking of which, it's a bit of a tangent, but I noticed that Watch Dogs eats up VRAM like no other. Yeah,
we're still trying to figure out what the limit is on that because I plugged in the 290X and ate up all 4 gigs on the card, which I've never seen from an unmodded game before.
Yeah.
Usually you only see that when you start adding in like third-party texture packs and things like that.
Right.
Does it have 4K textures in Watch Dogs?
I'd have to go back and check.
I'm wondering if that's it.
But they didn't look like 4K textures.
No, they don't. No. They don't really actually look. The textures are pretty underwhelming, honestly. So.
Yeah, they're kind of hit or miss. And it definitely ate up the 780s, 3 gigabytes.
Oh,
as well.
Yeah, no question.
So
It shoots
both AMD and
it shoots right up right away.
Yeah.
Oh wait, one last thing, just to get back to the. What was that? Me?
I think that's me. Sorry.
One last thing, let's get back to the Devil's Canyon parts.
Oh, yeah.
They're both intended to be overclocking parts. The rumor is the top end of whatever 49, what are they calling it? 4960K, whatever the hell it is going to hit 5 gigahertz on air. That may just be simply people super excited about it.
The 4790K, the i7.
The 4790K, the one that replaces the 4770K.
It's kind of like melding together with like AMD's numbering.
No, I can't remember. Do the motherboards need BIOS updates to recognize these new guys?
Yeah. They in fact, a lot of the vendors already updated their BIOSes a couple of months ago to support upcoming CPUs. Both of them actually they're not exactly the same, so they are Haswell parts.
Right.
But they are upgraded. Intel has updated the packaging to use a new next-generation polythermal interface material, basically to enable higher overclocks because it's better cooling.
That sounds fancy. I think it's really interesting that they're bothering with this basically all-enthusiast tier.
Well, the other thing is also, last thing, additional capacitors to smooth power delivery to die. So these are highly intended to overclock.
Yeah.
And you are surprised. And again, this is what we have been hearing from Intel ever since IDF. They've been saying, hey, we love enthusiasts. We know we've ignored you. We're going to make parts just for you.
Since CES.
Devil's Canyon is a part, right? Since CES. We had to sit down with Lisa Graff there, and she says, we love you guys. Enthusiasts, you guys are spending money. You're buying desktop parts. In fact, all the research shows desktop sales are actually on the increase year over year. So,
really?
Yeah.
Well,
on the enthusiast side.
Yeah, on the enthusiast side. From the boutiques like Main Gear and Falcon Northwest and those guys.
Well, I'll read you a number from this is Intel quote from their press. NPD Group desktops March 2014 unit and dollar volumes increased 16% and 7% year over year respectively. Published May 2nd.
Of course, when we look at those stats, you have to think about: is that happening in the U.S.? Is it happening in China? Is it happening in India?
Right.
Because that affects how you should sell your product, basically.
Also, small form factor desktops experienced a 51% on year increase to 18% share of desktop unit sales.
I mean, I'm guessing that most of that growth is happening in China as their middle class balloons expands.
Right. Well, yeah, China, the BRIC countries, right? So India, India as well. There's a lot of gaming over there. I mean, Brazil. Gaming. There's no consoles, so gaming is a big deal over there.
South Korea probably too.
Right.
I mean, they're huge in PC gaming.
Oh yeah, like League of Legends is huge over there. Taiwan.
Right.
As well.
So desktop's not dead. Intel realizing it. Desktop people buying parts, spending money. So hey, Devil's Canyon is made for you.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to a different type of computer. I believe, Elena, you can tell us a little bit more about Android laptops coming maybe?
Yeah. So HP is coming out with a 14-inch Android laptop. They came out with one last year. I don't think it was quite that large. Probably 13-inch.
I didn't even see that one.
But I found it really interesting because, I mean, for me personally, like, what would you do with an Android laptop? I mean, obviously there has to be some market for it if HP is doing another one this year. But the specs on this is that it's 1080p display. It's like 3.71 pounds, so it's not super light.
Yeah, it's kind of heavy.
It's got a Tegra 4 chip, and they're going to be selling it for $430.
Does it say if it has a touch screen?
Well, you'd have to. It's Android.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. But they might not put that in there if they're really trying to cut costs.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that it's that expensive.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that expensive.
Yeah, and I mean, they're coming out with this in August, so it's obviously something they're putting us with their back to school kind of thing, I'm guessing.
Right.
But honestly, for if I was going to college, I wouldn't want an Android laptop. I would want a Windows, or I guess maybe Linux.
Yeah,
I was fancy.
Chromebook,
or maybe even
that's why Chromebooks are popular.
Yeah.
Maybe even a MacBook.
Yeah, or MacBook. I guess. Yeah, well, I guess we'll acknowledge
the
that.
Kids,
right?
the kids, they like the Macs these days.
Only the rich kids.
You can't deny it.
I mean, I was sitting at my desk when I read this, and I was like, who do I know that would use this? And I was like, I don't know, maybe my grandfather, my mom, my other relatives that aren't really that tech savvy, but like the younger ones would just have a smartphone because they don't want to carry 4 pounds with them. And then, I mean, like, you can't even do normal business stuff because you can't really use the golden suite, which is Microsoft Office that everyone uses in the business world.
Can't use Photoshop.
Yeah, but you got Google Docs. So, but the thing is, this brings up this debate we always have. Jimmy and Tom are always saying, "I want an Android laptop." You guys always say that.
Really?
So I didn't.
This is news to me.
Oh yeah. Now they're denying it now.
I'm going to rephrase it, like the politician. I
did not know.
I said that I think on paper I would rather have an Android laptop than a Chromebook. But then you did mention that Android runs on ARM.
It's true what Senator Thang meant to say when he said he
That's
would.
not what your country.
I agree with him. I really haven't felt the appeal of a Chromebook because the app library is
there is no app library.
Exactly.
There's no. It's a cloud existence.
Right.
Right.
See, I mean,
let's not kid ourselves.
The main thing that basically a Chromebook is a Chrome browser in laptop form, right?
Sure.
And so my logic was that you can get that with the Android laptop and more.
Yeah, because the Chrome OS, if it's not a web app or a Chrome extension, you're out of luck.
That's fair.
Whereas with Android, you have this whole app ecosystem, like millions of.
So obviously, I'd rather have like an Ultrabook, but I'm just saying, if you were to ask me, between these two fairly worthless devices, which one is a little bit less worthless?
Chromebooks are not. I mean, I admit I would never take a Chromebook over a notebook for everything that I do, except for if I were going to a country where I think there's a high likelihood my device would be stolen or I'd be target of espionage. I would take a Chromebook, right? You're going to Brazil, you should take a Chromebook. I would not take that Alienware.
Yeah, because once you're logged out of your Chromebook, it's like it's kind of hard to get.
You got nothing to lose. Yeah. Hey, go ahead and confiscate it at the border. I don't care. I'll go buy another one.
It was $150.
You get one at the airport.
Nothing stored on it.
They have stacks of them.
Okay.
So it has a niche purpose. Also, again, for people who really talking about low maintenance, Android. I can't say old people because we have I've talked to 85-year-old people who overclock with nicer systems than I do. But for people who are not very good with technology,
or don't
Chromebook,
care.
you can't get yourself in trouble. Those people are confused by iOS and Android.
Android's not that confusing.
Oh yeah, sure. Come
you
on.
have
old
not
people can be
not old people.
Old people, right? Non-computer people. I keep saying
Don't
that.
be hating on the old people,
dear sir. I have an 8-core Xeon, you wuss.
Yeah.
Bring it. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I do hear from a lot of older folks who have hell of nice systems.
very nice.
So it's not fair to them. But it is people who just aren't good. You can't screw up. There's nothing to break on a Chromebook. You can't break it. It's just a browser.
Isn't there really much there to break in the first place?
That's right. But I mean, so
it's simple.
It's completely streamlined.
So to be fair to Chromebooks, they're not completely useless.
Right. I'm just specifically wondering about this particular form factor for Android.
Permanent landscape mode.
Yeah, well, it's not just that, but it's like,
I'm sure that'll be fixed.
I feel like if somebody is manufacturing these, that somebody out there is responding to them, and I'm just wondering what the use case is.
People who are cheap.
Well, no, I mean the thing is that
people who want something less worthless.
For $430, I could buy probably some 10-inch Android tablet. Stick a wireless or Bluetooth keyboard with that. I probably could even use a mouse. Yeah. And I would replicate the same thing for at least $100 less. I'm guessing if you get a good deal.
Having this
said $430 was the price of the
$430.
Yeah, you could get a nice, and those would be I think 2560 now by 1600 resolution almost.
They never updated the Nexus 10 though. Yeah. I mean that's old.
But you can get that kind of resolution from an Android tablet for that price. Is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not disparaging this particular product. I'm just wondering who's using it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody's using it now. I think HP wants
to. Or who will use it.
They want to get ahead of the crowd. Hey, we're going to get in.
Do you really think this is where it's going to go, though? I
don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if they can get it to work, get their whole ecosystem to work outside of Windows, then they might just give that a shot.
Although, don't you think you definitely get a feeling there are different groups at Google that are fighting now, right? Because Chrome OS, it's actually been a surprise success for them in a lot of ways.
Do you think they're fighting? Like, I don't get the sense they're fighting. I feel like they're just not aware of each other.
No, I don't think so. I bet, you know what? No way. Because they're humans, and we all know what it's like to work in a corporate culture. And right now, there's some exec running Android or wherever, some execs in the Android team going, man, when are they going to let us do this? These Chrome guys can't even use these things. You think they're using Chromebooks in the Android side? No. They're totally like, you need to let Android in there. You guys are going nowhere, right?
I would like to see how many Google employees are actually actively using a Chrome OS, a Chromebook as their daily driver, as opposed to like a Linux laptop.
You might be surprised. But I mean, I really do think there's like, why haven't they just simply done an Android with, right?
It's interesting that HP is the one who is bringing that to the market, that platform to the market.
But the thing is, I think the one issue though is, it's not really, Android is not made to be used in a clamshell device. It's just not made to be used that way. It's made to be used as a slate tablet.
I guess
when's the last time you've ever fired up your Bluetooth
this
keyboard?
A slate book.
I guess it depends on how much they do with the interface.
Right. So, and then what happens to your apps? Things are going to get weird because they like, everything's with a keyboard, and then it's very much, it's kind of weird. Like, it's like the Shield in a way, because it's like, I love the Shield, but there's times there's like, oh man, I got to type on the keyboard over the whole thing. And then there's going to be weirdness where you've got the Android app open and it's not going to, so you're going to have this on-screen keyboard and I think it's just,
some optimizations
I assume that the on-screen keyboard will be disabled by default.
Yes, so you would think, but you know how it is with all the apps, right? What I'm saying is why I think Google needs to actively say we're supporting this.
Right.
Otherwise, it's going to be tough. Yeah. It's very much like the very first tablets based on Android, because Google said, dude, Motorola, do not make these tablets. We're not the OS is not ready for it. But Motorola rushed into it like, we're just going to scale it up and run it on a big ass screen, and those really went nowhere. Those Zooms went nowhere.
Yeah, I think people forgot that the first Android tablets, because Android predominantly started on the phone.
Right.
They were terrible. They were just like, it was like a blown up phone.
Because they had no support from Google, right?
My buddy still uses one of those. It's pretty amusing.
Wow.
I mean, they're technically fantastic. I mean, they're very nice, but I mean, honestly, without the real OS support from Google and all the interface and everything, it was not a good experience. So, I mean, I kind of like, how's this HP thing going to turn out?
Yeah, well, it's coming out in August, so we'll see.
Early August.
We could be surprised.
See pretty soon. All right, we're going to move over to questions. This one comes from Eric VM via Twitter. He asks, do you think Intel is holding back on its technologies because AMD can't keep up?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if I'd say holding back. I'd say that they're probably not.
There's no fire lit under their...
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't really have, something that you're neck and neck with, you don't need to run full tilt.
Right. Yeah, there's certainly... Intel would have been pushing certainly harder and more aggressively. But what do they need to do it for?
Well, yeah, they're and at the same time, I don't think they're like slacking off across the board. They're obviously working very hard in the mobile sector.
Right. Because all the pressure is on them for mobile.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't matter.
Whereas there isn't as much pressure for them on the desktop.
Yeah.
There's no competition from AMD in the that hex core sector of the LGA 2011 area. I don't think there really ever has been.
Right. Well, they could have driven down. 6-core processors down to the $250, $300 price range a long time ago. But they don't need to. They don't need to for performance.
Yeah.
We'll get 8 cores with Haswell E, and by the end of the year. But we could have had that with Sandy Bridge E a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But there's no need to because AMD just didn't compete.
Right.
And at the same time, you also can't really blame. It's not like the people, the engineers, and everybody's like, oh, let's just sit back and read comic books all day. It's sort of like, how it is with the corporate world. It's like, oh, we don't really have to worry about you. We've conquered this. Everything's working. We're not going to support you or fund you. Not going to say that's Maximum PC, but we're not going to support you or fund you. Just keep doing what you're doing fine, but we're going to support these other things because we don't care about you. Right. That's exactly what happened.
All right.
So on that note.
No, I'm talking about Intel. I'm talking about 8 cores, 6 cores. We could have had a long time ago.
But we will be seeing 8 cores by the end of this year, I think.
Yeah, Haswell E will be an 8-core part.
Yeah, so 16 threads.
I mean, competition is always good for the consumer, but is there is there an argument for Intel has to compete with themselves in order to sell good products? Because if they release, let's say, Haswell E, and it's only like 2% faster than Ivy Bridge E, people aren't going to want to buy that either, right? So they
but it won't be 2% faster.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, you need to produce something that people are going to buy.
Right. So I'm just saying that I was playing devil's advocate a little bit because they do kind of have to compete with themselves. In a way
they do
as
compete with themselves, and I can tell you, I got mixed messages from Intel myself because I talked to somebody there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're going to phase out," because Intel has two. They have 2011, they have 1150, 1155. Some guy was like, "Yeah, 2011, that's going to go away because we're just going to merge everything back into one. Because what the hell do we need to be pushing the Xeon parts out to consumers? AMD is not existent, right? We have nobody to compete with. Nobody's going to buy these $1,000 CPUs, and of course." That was a mixed message from within Intel. I mean, it's a big company. There was a lot of politics, and they've come around and said, "Well, shit, these people are going to pay $1,000 for these CPUs. Let's just sell it to them. Why not? Right? Why people are going to $1,000? Yeah,
they just validate some Xeons to be overclocked,
right? So they've come around and they've realized for enthusiasts. But I will, as of 2 years ago, I know within Intel they were thinking, let's just get rid of this 2-socket. It's too expensive. It's a lot of people we have to support. Let's not do it.
It's also kind of nice for the consumer not having to switch boards so often as well, right?
It is, except with 1150, it's fine for the average consumer, but if you really want to pound more threads or run a shitload of video cards, you got to go with 2011, right?
Yeah. So I guess ups and downs.
Yeah.
All right. This next one comes from Dakota Davis via Facebook. He says, "This isn't a question, but it'll be added for humor. I work at Walmart, and not too long ago, I had a lady ask me if we had any power cables to plug into her modem, so that her modem could be plugged into her monitor, so that she could hear movies when they play."
What's the question?
There really isn't a question, but it just sounds
just
like
I think it's a tale from the trenches kind of thing.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think you talked about it before, Tom, but horror IT stories and stuff like that, where people just don't understand.
Well, and it's
technologies.
The technology is constantly evolving. Computers have changed so quickly over the past 10 years that seems like there's always going to need to be specialists to bridge the gap between the layperson and the technician and the technology itself.
I guess that's what Geek Squad is for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's tough though. If you're working as a tech or whatever, do you try to explain it to them, or is it just a lost cause?
I think it depends on the person. I think it really does. Like, you try to explain it. If it's not taking, you're gonna go, okay, well, let me just get what you need.
Yeah,
you need
I'll just fix this for you.
Let's go.
I'll just fix this for you.
Don't touch it. Okay, just leave it there. This is the button that you press to turn it on. Then you turn it off.
Right. Because they can't hurt themselves doing anything. It's not like, giving someone like, I don't know, like a thresher and basically saying, I'm going to set this up for you and just press this button. Like, that's
and then there's other people who have a level of knowledge where you can use automobile analogies to explain what's going on, and that can work out, and then that's okay.
I like, but I like trying to get that person to understand how it works.
Yeah, I mean, there really isn't a big downside to explaining that. Modem doesn't really emit noise.
Yeah, I guess it depends.
Are we talking about dial-up modems?
Yeah. It's not.
Maybe she wanted the dial-up modem sound.
Yeah.
She's like, fool, I wanted an MP3. I wanted a lossless file of an MP3 of a modem sound. You don't have that?
That'd make a great ringtone.
You know what you're talking about.
Make a great ringtone or an alarm sound.
Oh, God.
It's like waking up every morning to the sound of a dial-up modem.
You got to be careful, too, because it could also be them just coming in to check on you or something. They're secretly videotaping you.
Oh, those mystery shoppers?
Oh, golly.
Maybe they're going to just put you on the internet to see if you're a jerk or something.
One of those TV shows like... with Undercover Boss or Undercover CEO, what's that called?
I'm not familiar with that program.
It's on CBS,
that's basically where the head of the company will pose as a regular entry level worker, and this kind of get a sense of how things actually are operating and what the problems are.
That's an interesting concept. I'm not familiar with that show.
Yeah, but I wonder, have they ever had the show where it's like, I need the cable that makes the noise to connect to my modem? I was like, oh. Well, ma'am, I can help you. We sell these gold-plated HDMI cables, you need this because it won't. Your current HDMI cable is not gold plated. That's what you need.
Oh,
It's
are you a Best Buy associate?
$45. Now I'm just saying, would the CEO though go like, "Whoa, this is wrong. You're totally taking advantage of me.
It is.
I'm going to promote this guy, right? He's not going to be like, hey, you're ripping me off."
It is really sad that you can buy HDMI cables for literally thousands of dollars.
Right, from like Monster.
It's something that it's so.
Well, I guess thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Really?
It is so bad that it's
Does
something.
it come with a house?
It is something that I have to just not think about because it angers me so much. On so
Is
many
it supposed
levels.
to be for like, I don't know, like crazy presentations
No,
at
we're
like
talking
TED
about
or something?
like so-called premium audiophile grade HDMI cables that these
Yeah, they're jumper cables.
audiophiles, music fans are convinced that they need these things to get like all the bits from one end to the other and in perfect transmission.
Analog, my friend, analog. There's none of that for
no. Thousands of dollars for HDMI cables. I shit you not. I think
He's looking this
Amazon.
up.
I will say this is not just electronics though, because Glenn started playing guitar, so I had to buy him a guitar, and then we went down to Guitar Center, and he was like, "Oh, well, you need the guitar cable for the amp, right? So, well, do you want this one? This one is nitrous, blah 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 blah." And Glenn's like, "Well, that sounds better," and I said, "Give me the cheap one." I was like,
yeah. Did he try to upsell you? Yeah, cheap ones work just fine.
Actually, but this guy was cool. He's like, "Yeah, you're okay with this one,"
Okay, this is listed on bestbuy.com. It's the AudioQuest Diamond 3.3 foot high speed HDMI cable, $1,095.99.
Well, that's like the app I made
Sold out
for
online.
$10,000. That
Where are you
does
supposed
nothing.
to get it?
I had no idea they made these things.
100% perfect surface silver conductors, dielectric bias system,
So what I'm hearing is made in China.
HD polyethylene composition. Yeah, this thing is no joke, guys. Yeah, it's
well, that question really actually generated a lot of comment.
I'm just saying,
That wasn't
like,
really even a question.
Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, Lena, you were gonna say something?
no, I was just gonna say, like, when I hear all that fancy language, what I hear is this was produced in a factory in China, right next to the really awesome ones that you could buy from like Monoprice.
Right.
for like $5.
Yeah.
Right. Jeez. All right. Martin Cameron McLean asks, when do you think X99 motherboards will be available?
From everything I'm hearing, wait for a September-ish time frame when it sounds like it'll be an IDF announced part.
An IDF is in September.
In September, it's Intel's developer forum, and it sounds like it's basically a fall part. So,
Cool. John Lee asks, have you fiddled with Razer's Synapse software, and what are your favorite headsets for gaming? So I can answer that question from my own perspective. I have installed Razer Synapse software. I use their Black Widow keyboard, and I think that's about it for Razer hardware that I use. And I unfortunately haven't been able to play around with it too much. So there's that. And then favorite gaming headset, I'm using Corsair's wireless 7.1 headset. It's an emulated 7.1 setup, I believe, but what I like about it is that it's wireless, so I can just sort of walk around and do chores around the house while listening to music. So,
Yeah, for gaming, I just use an old pair of studio headphones that I've had for years. They're the AKG 240s, but
is it a gaming headset or is
no,
it
just a
so
regular
there's no mic?
studio reference headphones.
Okay,
So you can use a mic, like a boom mic separately.
gotcha.
But these headphones, I think they used to be made in Austria, and now they're made, I think, in Taiwan. And some people say that the quality isn't as good. And I've never tried the new headphones, so I can't really say for sure. But I know they are different.
AKG is a pretty good brand. It's definitely a lot better than
Yeah, I mean, you can,
Monster or Beats. Sorry.
Yeah, I definitely go
Beats.
with. Yeah, don't get me started. I would go with.
It's worth $3 billion, sir. What are you talking about?
Grotto is supposed to be pretty good. Sennheiser can be good, but I find that they kind of clamp my head a little bit. That seems to be sort of their trademark.
You're actually wearing Sennheiser right now.
Yeah, your ears hurt. That's how you know you're wearing a Sennheiser after about 2 hours.
Sennheiser makes excellent quality sounding products.
Yeah, I would probably go with a Grotto, like SR80i.
I'm not too familiar with the Grotto.
Yeah, you can look them up on Amazon. Grado. They have a bunch of stuff you can select from.
I don't do PC gaming yet. This is to ward off the look I'm about to get.
I'm going to have to convert her to the master race.
Yes.
It begins.
So actually the headsets that I'm more familiar with come from the console side, but a lot of them are multi-platform like compatible.
The Turtle Beach guys.
That's the first thing I think of too, like Turtle Beach.
Turtle Beaches are good. I really like they're really consistent in quality. But
Triton is another one.
I've actually I'm not personally as big of a fan of Triton's line. Just a combination of how they calibrate their sound plus like the materials they use in like the build of the headset. I'm actually personally a big fan of Astro as well. Astro Gaming's headset.
I'm familiar with them.
I've heard good things about them. I haven't heard too much about them, but what I have heard is pretty good.
And then that's like more on Astro produces their A40s, which is like one of the gold standards of gaming headsets.
The $1,000.
No, not gold standard, like as in terms of $1,000, but it's that would be nice, right, if I could afford that. Yeah. But those are wired. I use the A50s, or was using the A50s at work when I was at OXM. But in terms of stereo headsets, my opinion differs really a lot, though, from our normal headset reviewer, Alex Castle. I know that he had a very different opinion, but I really like the Plantronics rig. Didn't
you like that?
He gave that, I think, a 7. I gave it a 9. I rated it a 9, I think. At 8.5 or 9.
Let's call him up right now.
We should bring him in
different
for
scale,
a debate.
different magazine. But I like them. They're well balanced. They're clear. They're super comfortable. I have a problem finding headsets that work as well. Like, I don't know because my head's too small, so it doesn't like stretch out the headset properly. But like, I'll put them on, and after like an hour or 2 hours, I'll be like, ow. Like this spot like right here, like it's cramped.
Yeah. Gordon, what about yourself?
I had to look it up. I actually run a pair of Razer Black Sharks.
Razer Black Sharks. I'm not. Can I see that?
It's this Battlefield license one that they have. It looks cool.
I'm just gonna hold it up.
It's comfortable.
Can I hold it up to the camera?
Although the build quality isn't great. I mean, I sort of broke part of it and had to fix it. But
now, speaking of build quality, I know that when I'm looking for a pair of headsets or headphones, it's really important to have like a metal strap going across the top, because if they're connected with a plastic like band, the plastic almost always over time cracks and can even break.
What are you doing? You're like, yeah, I totally just dominated. You're like,
when you take them off and you put them on again, it'll stretch and over time it'll.
You just have this vision of you like throwing it at your monitor.
No, I can proudly say that I'm not one of those people who throws things at the screen. I don't punch the screen or the wall. I've seen those people, and I'm just like.
Are you guys both headset people? I'm because I got kids. I do the one. You got to do one. So you
I have open air, so I can hear like the doorbell or the phone, like the landline phone ring.
Yeah, I like the closed, the isolation thing. I feel like it's more immersive.
Sure.
I don't have kids either, so that helps. I thought you were a Plantronics guy, though.
Yeah, actually, I do like Plantronics. I do like Plantronics. I've been meaning to actually move to I think one of the MCOMs that I have at my desk. I just haven't done it. I've been too lazy because I've been using that to listen to motherboard audio. But I've been meaning to take that home and use it as well.
Gotcha. Next question comes from Justin Lee Mais. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. He goes, just wondering what speed of RAM would be best paired with a 4770K. And he is using it for high-end gaming, he says.
It doesn't really matter. It's a common misconception that you need fast RAM to get fast good performance.
But we have talked about this before.
It has changed with Haswell, though. Sandy Bridge, Ivy Bridge.
Yeah.
Even Ivy Bridge E, I don't think I wouldn't pay for super high expensive RAM. But the weird thing with Haswell, you are seeing performance scaling with higher clock RAM. So I do think it's worth paying for higher clock RAM. I wouldn't pay for exotic, like, I'm hitting, DDR3 4000. But honestly, if you're doing 1866 or 2133 for a good price, at the same price as 1333, it's actually worth it. You will actually see a surprising amount of scaling, gaming, as well as.
Yeah, but we're talking about like less than 5%, right?
Well, you would be surprised.
We should do a story on this.
So if you like when I do the motherboard testing or CPU testing, just simply going from say 1600 to 2133, you might see an 8% boost.
Really?
It depends on what you're running, right? So like if I'm running, definitely encoding, but you're not going to see it in everything. Some things that are completely, compute bound, it's not going to make a difference. But amazingly, in a lot of the games, if you're pushing a big enough video card, it's actually worth it. I wouldn't say pay a huge price premium, for like, whatever, anything beyond 2133, but if you're getting it for the same price, you actually do see a performance bump from Haswell. And if you're talking about spending another $10 to get, even if it's only a 5% bump,
yeah, that's
worth it.
$10 for 5% bump is
right.
Yeah, I wouldn't hesitate.
Right. But no, I definitely, you got to have a big card. You're not going to do this with a 650 Ti, and you're not going to see something huge. But if you're running a real video card, doing high-end gaming, then yes, you actually can see it. On Haswell. If you've got a Sandy Bridge E, Bridge E, it's like, maybe.
Why does it matter more on Haswell?
I don't know what it is, but Haswell just, because I've done this every time, from the Halo on, every time we did it, because we've gone from dual channel to tri-channel and all this band. It's like you never see anything. There's certain things, certain encoding tasks, you would see a difference.
Right.
You'd never see it anywhere else.
Because you were limited by the speed of the memory controller on the CPU, which up until recently.
Yeah, but there's something about Haswell. Something about Haswell, it's worth paying a small price premium for higher clock memory, generally, I think.
Cool. This last question's kind of a fun one. Jonathan Miramontes says, with what is available in the room, what would be your primary weapon in an apocalypse?
Like
in this
in
room?
this room?
In this room.
I'd probably break one of the legs off these cheap tables.
I have to see what's in that toolbox behind Jimmy.
There used to be a bat in here.
I mean, there could be a hammer in there, and if so, I'd probably go with that. Maybe a crescent wrench.
Yeah.
I was gonna say maybe the Mac keyboard, but that's probably too flimsy.
Honestly, if I had nothing else, I'd probably try to use some of these cables to like choke them out.
What were we talking about? What kind
in the apocalypse?
What kind of which apocalypse?
He just said apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference between like a zombie apocalypse and a biblical apocalypse and a.
Oh wait,
flood?
So are we fighting any? Oh wait, are we specifically fighting things, or is there
okay?
Just
So we're in the podcast.
Yeah.
There's a zombie apocalypse.
Is this a survival
What would you guys
scenario?
do? This is Left 4 Fuck. This is a Left 4 Dead crew. There's 4 of us. It's Left 4 Dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we need like is this a survival scenario, a combat scenario?
Well, definitely these legs. So these legs are metal. Great bludgeon devices.
I don't think you could break these off.
None of you guys are armed. I'm going to imagine because they don't allow us at our company.
You can get some good reach with the table leg. I'll give you that.
But I don't think
in a pinch though, these microphone stands easily accessible, metal.
Yeah.
It's a good short. It's sort of like a small. I'd say this is a good kind of. But I mean, you could.
It's kind of heavy.
Come on,
too.
look at this thing. Look
Yeah,
this leg. You could unscrew the leg with my Leatherman. Take this off. I could definitely beat half of Games Radar to death with this leg right here, easily.
I mean,
I hope HR doesn't listen to this.
Looks like the microphone is screwed into the base, so I figure this will take a few hits before it starts
pretty much
deforming.
Well, the thing is,
but look at these legs; they're just screwed into the bottom.
Table legs better for a little bit of a ranged
Yeah,
weapon. But if you're in hand-to-hand combat and you need something in a pinch, this will do.
I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, definitely anything. This Surface actually, they did a test where they beat people, and it works pretty well. But no, these legs also have a top. There's a metal groove on top, like a flat platform.
I wonder if they're heavy though. If they're heavy, you're going to be immobile.
Tap on this baby, man.
Yeah, that's. Yeah.
Oh, actually, it's really light because it's hollow.
Yeah,
it's steel.
And it's metal.
Yeah.
And it has this platform.
Yeah, it's pretty
There's
good.
4 of them in. Or there's 3. I guess 3 legs and 4 legs in this table.
I think there's 3.
It's probably
No,
cheap
there's
3-leg
4.
version. It's
There's
just 4,
4.
1 for each.
Yeah.
We use the legs, then we fight ourselves to the 3rd floor, which I don't know who's down there, but I think they're armed. So then we would get to their weapons locker. That's it.
It feels like there's
Get our
just Phillips screws holding in these legs, so you wouldn't even have to like saw them off the table or anything.
I have my Leatherman. We take it off.
Yeah.
And then they would have a great big pile of aspirin, and you could just kind of.
Gives you temporary health.
Yeah.
Health boost. It's only temporary though. You need
right.
the
Only
med kit to get I guess permanent
right
health boost. That was a pretty fun silly question. That was not related to tech at all, but
might be silly today, but you never know.
I know, man. I'm gonna be thinking. I'm gonna be like. I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna be ready.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna move on to editors' picks, and I'll start. Mine is an extension for Chrome, and it's called Hoverhound, what it is it's actually a Newegg extension. So you go on to like Newegg.com. Let's say you want to buy this, look for this Alienware 14-inch laptop, and you want to see where it's cheapest. So what Hoverhound does is that once you hover over this green Hoverhound button, you'll get to see the price of the laptop on Amazon and Tiger.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. It's really handy.
So it basically ensures that you get the cheapest price.
Do they collect information on you though?
Probably.
Sorry, I have to ask.
I mean, they probably know that you're on that SKU page, right? So I guess so, probably. I mean, Google probably collects all that information.
Well, they got to make money somehow, right?
I'm just saying.
So, but I mean, yeah, it works on Newegg.com, and Newegg has a bunch of tech products and all that stuff. So it's a pretty good way to save money if you're looking to buy stuff. Lena, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so mine's actually an Android, and also if you're on iOS, it's an iOS app. And I know we've had some readers say that this is not Maximum Mobile, but I picked this because it's just really freaking cool. So the app is called WordLens. They just got acquired, I think, by Google a couple of weeks ago. The app is free right now, so it may go back to being a paid ad once the acquisition is over. But basically what it is, it's an app that works offline. So say like you're traveling to like Brazil, or I think the example they use is like you're in Russia and you see a street sign and you have no freaking clue what that sign means. Like get the hell out of the way, or like
Vodka.
Deer crossing, or what, right? So you bust this app open, right? You hold your phone up, and using the camera, it basically looks at that image that you're holding it up to, and it'll like translate on the fly and like overwrite the word, like a translation of that word in real time over that sign, so you can have a rough idea of what that means. And I just think this is really kind of cool, just from a Star Trek might be real someday sort of perspective. That whole like universal translator, like no like.
Can we try
no
it?
language boundaries. Like we can try it. The thing is that I will note
that will show up on the.
All right.
Will it? Okay.
So you got a camera right there.
Yeah.
I saw this earlier today.
It's pretty neat.
Apparently it's not perfect, but what I saw was pretty trippy and really cool.
It's pretty cool. I did try it on the languages that I have some familiarity with, and I will say the translations aren't perfect, so don't take it as gospel.
Yeah, they'll probably get you out of an emergency.
But yeah, if you're really lost, it
you're
can
able to
help.
find a bathroom.
So
in the middle of
when you load it up,
English.
I don't know if that works. You can basically see that's the
So,
camera interface.
We'll use that. We'll use probably. Is that one good? So I'll just read this aloud. It says in English, which should be put in a 1,000-year time capsule. So this is just some card I picked up in the room.
Okay, so hold it up to me.
So
I put the phone much closer to the camera.
Yeah, so let's move it back a little bit.
Here, I'll do it.
I don't know if is that working?
Is that showing up?
What language do you have it going to? Is it understanding? No comprende?
now?
It's trying. I have it from English to German.
Okay.
So as if the camera thing actually worked, you can actually see how in real time it's trying to figure out what the word is saying, and so it'll actually like try to like flip between like a few different words sometimes because it's not quite sure which one it really is.
Yeah, because sometimes it's a noun and sometimes it's a verb, in which case it'll be two different words.
So it's really just watching it try to do that in real time.
It's very trippy.
It's kind of cool. It's just really neat to see. It's just as an example of tech and where it's going. So that's my pick for the week.
It's cool.
Yeah, and actually on just before we move on to the other picks, I know that there was one user that complained that this isn't Maximum Mobile, so why are we picking Android or mobile picks? Well, the thing is, like, we do try to recommend PC hardware and software, but I mean, this is like 220 something podcasts in, and after so many podcasts, like, you run out of PC components and things to recommend.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to. I've recommended wireless headset or a game PC. You sort of just run out, and I'm not gonna. So I'm running a GTX Titan, but I'm not gonna be like, yeah, just go pick it up. It's not really an impulse buy.
$1,000 impulse buy.
Just walk.
Oh yeah, I'm running a.
Jimmy's the 1%.
I'm running an Ivory Bridge E, so just buy that. Like, I think this is best suited for more impulse buys, or like, yeah, just go ahead and get that, or
just cool tech we want you guys to know about.
Yeah, accessible, I think. And it's fine if we want to, if if one of you guys has a really expensive thing that you're really passionate about sharing, that's great too. But I'd like to personally recommend something that you could easily pick up, and don't have to drop 1K on and so forth. Anyways, Tom, you ready to go with yours?
Oh yeah, mine is a program called CPU-Z, which I'm sure almost all of our listeners are familiar with already. But what they may not know is that CPU-Z has an Android app.
This isn't Maximum Mobile.
It also has an Android app. It may be on iOS, I'm not sure, but definitely on Android. You can pick it up, and it's free. And so it basically does CPU-Z. It performs all of the data gathering on the tablet itself. So I can pull up CPU-Z, and I can tell you that this Nexus 7 uses a 28 nanometer process, and it has 4 cores. I can tell you the revision of the CPU. It's R1P0, and it'll tell you exactly how many pixels are actually being rendered on the screen right now. Like, because this is a 1080p or 1200p display here. I can tell you that's actually only displaying 1104 pixels vertically right now in landscape mode.
You're getting robbed of some pixels.
Yeah, and I can even tell you that the battery is operating right now at 25.3 Celsius, which I think is really cool. And also because the Nexus 7 has it has a gyroscope, and it has orientation sensing and all this stuff. So I can tell you, it even measures the magnetic field around me, because it uses the magnetic field to.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a little magnet in the cover that'll cause the tablet to turn off and turn on as you open and close it, and it uses the magnetic field sensor to do that. So I can tell you in real time what the magnetic field is at. In I think those are Teslas. I could be wrong. Micro Teslas. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
So is that? I'm guessing that's free as well.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Cool. And Gordon, do you have a pick this week?
I was going to recommend a game, but it is for Shield, so it is a mobile device. Just since we're obviously,
I think I know where you're going.
It's also it's Half-Life 2. Is that what you're picking?
No. I did my hover hand.
Half-Life 2 on Shield.
For the Shield.
For the Shield.
It's really cool because you're actually playing Half-Life 2, but on a freaking handheld console. Basically, it's amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Is NVIDIA paying you to say all this?
No, I paid. I would wish. I was like, hey, did they send a free code? No. No, not at all. I had to pay $10 for it.
So you can pick it up, I guess, in the Play Store, the Google Play Store?
Yeah, Google Play Store. I mean, if you have a Shield, you basically go to the Shield. They have a Tegra.
I think you can also get it off the Google Play Store as well.
Yeah, but it takes you to the it takes you to the store. You buy it through the store.
And how much is it?
$10, $9.99. But it's amazing. I mean, it really is like it's Half-Life 2 running on.
Yeah, natively this isn't being streamed or.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I'm not going to play all the way through it. It was a 2 gig download, which wasn't that bad, but
for mobile, that's a lot.
Yeah, for mobile, that's crazy if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's some phones that only have like 4 gigs of free space or whatever. So, and the game, I was actually playing that game fairly recently on PC, and it still looks pretty dang good. Like City 17 holds up, considering that the game's like 10 years old now.
Yeah, God, the memories, right? It's just amazing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll segue into our next Gordon topic, the rant of the week. So here we go. Oh, not that one.
What was that?
Class, listen up. Gordon's going to present his rant of the week.
Who's the dumbass who came up with this idea? I mean, what kind of a fucking loser? You're wasting your fucking time. Total fucking loser. I hate all this shit.
Man, there is something up with our Wi-Fi, isn't there?
Is that what you're going to rant about?
No, earlier I was connected, and then now suddenly like, whoa, what's up? I've lost Wi-Fi.
Yeah, she was having trouble earlier.
I don't lie.
Luckily, I have everything already saved. I had opened it up on my screen. So, what was I going to talk about? Oh, so I've been. People don't know, but I've been making trips down to talk to studios in Hollywood. I'm pitching some concepts, and I've realized that the studios are really good at just sort of taking like classic ideas and then just recycling them, doing them all over again. So my idea is to take classic works of literature and art and reboot them, right?
Okay.
So I'm trying to convince them to fund me to reboot things like,
Are we talking like Pride and Prejudice and zombies?
yeah, like, or Fahrenheit 451.
And zombies.
It's a no, but it's a true classic piece of literature.
With vampires.
But it's Fahrenheit. The world has moved on. So that could be like maybe rewritten and updated to Celsius. And I figured out earlier, it would be Celsius 232. Or I guess rounded up, Celsius 233.
It has a nice ring to it.
And that's, yeah, I mean, there's no reason. There's all these great works of art and literature that have just, that can be redone and reused and remarketed to people again.
This is a bold concept.
Right. Why not do it? I mean, Mona Lisa's been done once. Only once. Hundreds of years later, it's only been remade once.
Well, isn't Disney kind of doing that, or haven't they been doing that with like Aladdin?
Yeah, but they're doing that with movies that have already
Maleficent.
been doing. That's just like Hollywood's onto something. They're like, gosh, we're going to remake Star Wars, or we're going to remake Indiana Jones, right? Let's just do that all over again, right? Let's reboot Star Trek. Take all these. Well, you know what? This can be extended to works of literature and art. There's no reason for you not to be able to do that, right? I mean, I just looking at this. I mean, this just, and this stuff is out there, and a lot of it, Hollywood, it's in the public domain. It's free. You don't even have to pay anybody really for the rights to it. You could rewrite The Great Gatsby, right?
Well,
The Scarlet Letter.
did. There was a Great Gatsby movie.
There was a movie, but it hasn't been rewritten, right? So
For-
I
for
would
a modern
take
it would be like
audience.
a
I would rewrite it.
alternate ending.
Maybe some vampires or
Oh.
something like that, or just,
They
but
have to
actually
be
call it
extra
The Great
sparkly.
Gatsby.
Maybe some robots.
right? But there's no reason not to just.
Throwing a dinosaur.
Hollywood knows something. Let's just take like The Godfather, because I'm waiting, because I know they're going to remake The Godfather pretty soon, because they're going to have
God, I
to,
hope they
because it's
don't.
Hollywood, right? And they're onto something. It's a fantastic franchise. Let's just reuse it. There's no reason not to use it again. So we extend that to, I'm working on my pitch here. This is when I go down. We'll extend it to literature and art, and there's no reason we can't do this with other, great works of art, right?
Godfather in
Architecture, right?
The Godfather.
Golden Gate Bridge has been done once. We can do it better again, but with better marketing.
Casablanca with jetpacks.
Why not?
That's the spirit.
Right?
That's
Man.
the spirit.
Right?
You're working on the wrong industry, son.
There's no reason. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. I mean, we reboot it for today's youth who've never
Well,
read.
they did have Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer.
Hashtag Citizen
Yeah, but
Kane.
that but there was no, right? I mean, that's sort of similar, but there was no actually. It's not like
Yeah.
a book or something. I'm talking about actually rewriting the actual book, or taking the painting and just doing it all over again, or great sculptures. And like, why not just take great works of art and literature and just simply apply modern day marketing technologies to it to repackage it and sell it again, except update it with higher returns
I do
on.
hear that David needs a bit of an update.
David.
In Goliath.
Oh,
No, the statue.
Oh,
Oh.
yes.
I hear I've heard that he's disintegrating to a certain degree.
Oh, yeah.
really?
Just put
That's
some,
what I heard.
Just
I
put some,
haven't verified this
just
yet.
put some skinny jeans on him.
Pats
The pyramids.
in his hand.
Think about the pyramids. I mean, incredible. So it's a world, but why can't we do that again?
You could put Starbucks in there.
And put a Starbucks in there. You're thinking right. We
That
maximize our investment,
We have to monetize.
just like Hollywood. I know some people would say it would be criminal to take something like The Adventures of Huck Finn and rewrite that.
Yeah.
But I think we could use that same potential that Hollywood has applied to all of the great works of film and cinema by remaking them all over again to exploit and make more money.
On a somewhat related note, I guess I heard a rumor that the Millennium Falcon is going to make a return in the new Star Wars movie.
Is it going to be a fixie?
How do they do that?
The thing that it kind of bothers me a little bit because even back, so like the new movie is supposed to take place like 30 years later, right?
Mhm.
But even in the original Star Wars movies, the Millennium Falcon was actually a hunk of junk essentially.
Sure.
So why is it
Right.
still
A
in
very-
commission like 30 years later? wouldn't they have like better technology? Wouldn't that be like driving a 1970 Pentium?
They're probably doing it for nostalgia.
Yeah,
You know?
just look, Jimmy. You
They
don't
have-
understand, when you're in Hollywood, you take people's memories and you destroy them, and then you turn that into profitability. By having the Millennium Falcon, you've got franchises. You can sell that to McDonald's as a toy. You can sell that at Toys R Us again. I mean, and you change it a little differently, so you can sell it all over again to the people who want exact replicas.
Right. It's totally a cash cow thing, which really bothers me.
Why? That's
logically,
just
you
how
wouldn't-
Hollywood
you wouldn't
is.
have that ship anymore.
The commoditizing nostalgia. It's
It's what people have been doing.
and they probably genuinely miss iconic images and ideas like the Millennium Falcon from the Star Wars universe. After having gone through those 3 prequel films, which in which there wasn't really much memorable takeaway like there was from the first 3 films,
Yeah. I'd rather not remember those movies anyways. So
Yeah, you can't unremember them. Although I will embarrass Elena and say she likes Star Trek, the original, the motion picture.
Hey, I'm not embarrassed about that at all.
I'm trying to embarrass her by it. There's
No,
actually a
not
reader.
gonna
I
work
went
on
back
me.
and forth on that forever about it. But
Do you know how much shame
Oh,
I've had to
no.
deal with as a Chinese kid? I mean, that I am immune to that shit, dude.
original motion picture.
That was awesome. Not for everyone. but awesome.
Everyone has one film that's less than popular that they're allowed to like.
It was.
Okay, let's all admit.
It was a touching tribute to the
Everybody-
space program. I
Everybody
mean, come
has
on.
everybody
Oh, yeah,
has an
okay.
amazing film. Excuse me, an amazing film that they're allowed to not like. Conversely, it's okay.
I will tell this embarrassing story. We were down at Comic-Con. It was a big group of us. It was a bunch of people from the company. We were down there. I think Intel had paid to be in our booth at that year. This is years and years ago. So we're at this dinner. There's like 25 people, and one of our marketing people at the time, and I will tell you the embarrassing movie story. He's there, and we're talking about movies. He goes like, "Yeah, didn't everybody cry in that scene in Armageddon?" It's like, what? We're like, yeah, the one where like Liv Tyler and Ben Affleck are on the grass and whatever, and they're. And that you didn't cry during that? I was like, fuck no. I wanted my money back at that point. I was like, God damn, the Earth deserves to get hit by this fucking meteor. This meteor couldn't hit the Earth fast enough if it didn't land on fucking Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler right fucking now. Right? That's what I'm going to remake Armageddon. And
this
when that
time-
scene, when Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler are on the grass, that fucking asteroid is going to slam into the fucking Earth
Roll credits.
at like Mach 80, right?
Yeah, 8 minutes into the film.
And people on Earth will be like, whew, oh man, I don't feel so bad. I just got wiped out. But it took out Liv Tyler and Ben Affleck in that scene.
I am
It's worth it.
relieved, and it only took me 10 minutes to watch that film. I will actually watch it again because I got nothing to do.
Right?
I had 2 hours slotted for film, and I got nothing to do.
I felt bad for him. It was like, how? We were like, are you joking?
So to be fair, to be fair, I often cry after watching Michael Bay movies as well.
Because you're relieved it's over?
Just because.
Oh, come on, The Rock.
The Rock was good.
The Rock was good.
The Rock was good.
Or I liked Howard the
You know,
Duck.
I think
I haven't seen that.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think Ben Affleck has grown into being a pretty good actor and a great director. So
I would say he's a really good director. The actor's still.
I
a little
just
bit-
all I
Think
know
it's gonna be
is
Batman. I mean, come on.
that asteroid could not have just like
hit us.
it hit the Earth exactly on the spot. Would have just been like where they were
just
on that
those
grass.
2 people, and then that was it.
Could take the whole Earth out. I wouldn't care. It would just like slam as long as it takes out Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler in that scene
I don't know.
before they start. Oh, geez, that was bad, wasn't it?
I like Liv Tyler.
Yeah, but that. Come on, you admit that
In the context of the film,
Armageddon was just
You can
Yeah.
like the actress, but you don't have to like that scene.
that's true.
right.
Yeah. All right. Do you have anything else you're upset about?
Yeah, printer ink. I had to buy some printer ink. We have, we're old school. We have multiple printers. Our laser is I have to bring that in to get it fixed because I'm not going to take the thing apart and do the tape thing hack to make it work. So I'm like, okay, our inkjet backup ran out of ink. So I'm going to run down to Office Max to buy the ink.
Oh Lord.
And they have, man, they talk about scam. First, you've got like, oh, well, you can buy the real ink from the manufacturer, or you can buy the stuff that we just refilled out of the tap water, right? Okay, I'm not going to do that. And the thing that even killed me was like, wait a minute. The real ink is like $50, and your tap water with the food coloring is $35. Why would I pay $35 for tap water? I mean, I could do that myself.
Out of curiosity, what's wrong with the so-called tap water? I don't know too much.
Well, because for me, I'm like, I don't want to gum up the heads. But why? It doesn't matter because the printer is $100. But it was $35. It was like I would rather pay the $15 to get the actual name brand rather than the tap water with the food coloring.
And those cartridges, I think they have like basically expiration dates. Like
They
if you
do.
don't,
Not all
if
of
you
them.
don't print enough, then they will. Even if
I know
they're full
HP
to the
does that.
brim.
HP does that. They actually have expiration dates on them.
It's annoying.
Yeah.
Canon doesn't do it. I have a Canon printer, but Canon has figured it out because like, okay, we need the yellow and we need wire printing has two kinds of blacks, but it has two kinds of blacks. One is for photo printing, but we needed the normal printing black and the yellow. It's like, okay, the way it's packaged is like, it's not individually packaged. So it's like, okay, you can buy this pack with these colors for $50, or you can buy the 5-pack with all of them for $60. Or this one, but this 6-pack with all the colors doesn't come with the thick one. So it's just like they've figured it out, just maximum screwage.
Well,
right?
then also like if you run out of yellow and everything else is still like at least half full, then they just basically still tell you to fuck off.
Right.
You have to get an entire new cartridge kit because you're out of yellow.
And they're not individually packaged because they want to screw you, right?
They
don't want to
start like a Facebook group or something where it's like just trade unwanted ones.
But I swear to God, somewhere at corporate, there's an actuary table that they can figure out. Like if we have these 3 kits available, we can make them buy the more expensive one, or buy the cheaper one and the individual one, which is more expensive than this one. It's just like there's just nowhere to go. It's like 3 doors. All 3 of them lead to imminent death.
I wish I could like create a PSA for the entire world to tell people stop buying inkjet.
Well, that's why I have a laser. We have a color laser.
Please just
Laser.
buy a laser.
Yes.
It's a little more expensive in the short run.
It's a lot more expensive actually, because the toner, man, you want to talk about expensive? The toner replacement toners, $100.
Yeah,
But how
that
long-
thing
how long do they
lasts
last?
Yeah, it'll print out
ever.
Well, but you know what? Now
the cartridge will outlast an inkjet printer.
Yes, but the laser guys, you know what they do now? It's like, well, you can buy the regular toner cartridge, or you could buy the high capacity one. Well, what's the difference? Well, this one's full. Like, come on! I could buy the half empty one, or I could buy the full one.
Yeah,
Man, I remember the days when you actually had to manually refill the toner cartridge.
Now they won't even let you do that because people were like, well, I could fill it with third-party ink. And then they're like, oh, shit.
Right.
Because
They have
their whole model was
smart chips.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
There's DRM on the
DRM
fucking
on your
ink-
printer.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone's hacked it yet. That would
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there's...
That would be
there's-
funny just for just shits and giggles.
Yeah.
Well, also, that's why a lot of these stores like Office Max, Office Depot, they take your used cartridges, because then they take those cartridges and they sell them to the refill guys who break them down and take the chips out of them.
Yeah.
That's why companies like HP added expiration dates on the smart chips.
I feel kind of bad for admitting this, but I used to buy, like every time I needed ink, like I'd wait until like Black Friday and I just kind of like buy a new printer 'cause it was like cheaper.
It is. It's
is.
actually cheaper.
It's like totally bad for the environment. I'm just like buying these printers like every time I need.
You
them.
just throw it out.
You just throw it away, light it on
Pretty
fire.
much I recycle it. Yeah.
Throw it at a homeless guy.
Free cycle.
Because it's like the ink cartridge would be like $50, and then you wait till Black Friday, you can get the new printer for like $40.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's crazy. And you get all of them. You know, you could just buy the printer, take the ink cartridges out, and sell them on eBay, and then throw it away. You'd make more money.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably.
Yeah.
What a country.
This is one that I don't know if we've kind of talked about it before, but maybe you could rant about this. We probably could both rag about this, but the word upgrade. When it
Oh, yeah. Jimmy brought this up. That's a good one, right?
What happened?
When it comes
Well,
to
when you upgrade your phone, Jimmy was talking about like, oh, upgrade your phone, right? It's true. No, this is the magic of the mobile industry and their marketing, right? So you've upgraded your phone. People say, oh, I just upgraded. What'd you buy? I upgraded. I bought this
did you add-
Galaxy S5, which is a great phone.
Right.
I upgraded my phone. I took my old Motorola phone, I put it in a drawer, and I bought a brand new phone.
Yeah.
That's not an upgrade.
Yeah.
I bought a new phone.
Right.
There's no upgrade there, right?
We can upgrade to a new phone. Yeah. I mean,
You're
That's not an upgrade.
You're not
It's like,
upgrading your phone though.
it's
it's like, hey, I just upgraded. I just bought a 295 X2. That's an upgrade. I just added 32 gigs of RAM. I bought a 1 terabyte SSD. That's an upgrade. This is
you're
I
upgrading your
threw
computer.
away my old computer.
Yeah.
Or I threw my old phone and I bought a new one.
Right.
There's no upgrade, but yet they call it an upgrade. It's bullshit.
Yeah, it's like a marketing thing, I think.
Well, there's the other problem of people getting incremental improvements that they don't actually need, like slightly higher resolution, slightly more RAM, slightly faster processor.
But at least it's an upgrade.
Yeah.
You could say like, hey, I went from an i5 to an i7.
The processor speed is the worst because these
that
chips,
is an upgrade.
The chips will like overclock themselves when they detect certain benchmarks.
But it's still not an upgrade. It's just simply throwing away your old device and buying a new one.
They just want something new.
Why do we let them get away with
I
this?
do think the word can be used in that context, but I
Yeah.
understand where you're coming from.
I don't think so.
Well, I'm just like, my point is like, if you're gonna tell someone, oh, I upgraded my house, like, then they would be like, oh, did you fix up your backyard? Did you get some like new lights?
No,
or
I just bought a
whatever?"
new one.
I
It's
bought
like,
a new
no,
one.
I just threw away the old house and bought a new one.
I mean, for people who don't like tinker with a car or a computer where they're replacing individual components, I can see the word upgrade being used to mean replacement.
Right.
Okay, so according to Merriam-Webster, definition 2 is increase or rise. So under that definition, it applies. However, the definition you're using is definition 3, which is improvement.
Right, improvement, and for technology, upgrade is an improvement, right?
So basically, marketing has co-opted the word, is what you're complaining about.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right then, I can get behind that.
It's not our use. We use the correct. I think we use the correct one, which is an upgrade, not replace. I think replacement would be a more correct
Yes.
use of the
It
word.
would be a lot more accurate.
Right. Upgrade is,
Well, think of it from their point of view too, though. You can't really say replace your phone because it makes people actually think, "Oh, do I really?
Should I?
Should I?
No, I
replace
like the
my-
shiny thing.
Like, should I replace my phone?
I gotta have the shiny thing.
does
It's
it-
an upgrade.
Does it really apply?
This is
Do I-
cognitive dissonance.
Okay. So the actual definition, according to Google.
I just went to Merriam-Webster.
Yeah, but I'm gonna read the
Oh,
whole
we've
thing.
got dueling laptops here
definitions
and browsers.
I'm gonna read. Guys, raise something to a higher standard, comma. In particular, improve equipment or machinery by adding or replacing components.
I just want you to know that Merriam-Webster is a standard for
Yeah,
dictionaries.
no. Wait. He's using Google. I mean, that's literally
So that is-
Google's.
that is better.
But that's Google's. Oh my God, guys.
Let's not talk about. Look, what is the value of Merriam-Webster? A bunch of old people wearing
Yeah.
the jackets with the patches on their sleeves and
I mean,
the
that's a-
pipes sitting in a
that's a
building.
You're
book.
talking to a
Printing-
copy editor.
I'm just
Merriam-Webster's a
saying,
book, and we're living in a digital world now.
I'm gonna
Lena. The problem is you
fucking
have
flip
to
this table.
You have to reboot
I
your
think
way
it's
of
bolted down.
thinking,
Yeah.
just like Hollywood.
Oh, you
thinks.
mean I have to upgrade my way of
You
thinking?
need to upgrade. The problem with Star Wars is it needs an upgrade. We're upgrading Star Wars with a new upgraded Millennium Falcon. It's better.
It's getting scary in here.
Why?
All right. If nobody else has anything to rant about, I think I'll
I
close.
do. Merriam-Webster for life.
Merriam-Webster. But you know,
Man, I tell you, man, when I was in Pelican Bay, fuck.
What's Pelican Bay?
this is going on.
You've never
forever.
been you don't know Pelican Bay? Pelican Bay is California's maximum security prison.
You don't go there.
Really?
You know
You
how
don't go there in your spare time.
Fuck, you know how hard.
weekend
Do you know how
trips
hardcore
to
it is up there? The shoes, the soles are made of a special material that crumbles, so it can't be used to kill people. Okay,
Wow.
that's how bad it is. But you know the worst fucking gang in Pelican Bay.
The tunnel
The
snakes?
Merriam-Webster crew, man. They were hardcore. You did not mess with them, man. You just did not mess with the Merriam-Webster crew, man. It was like, whoa. I used upgrade incorrectly when we were in the lunch line. It's like, I thought I was going to get killed,
Yeah,
man. They
Shanks.
greenlit me for using upgrade incorrectly at Pelican Bay. You don't fuck with the Pelican Bay crew.
Gonna shiv you, man.
A tattoo of Bob Merriam's face on his face.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
face.
All right. So on that note,
I think they're using that word incorrectly.
on that note, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. You can check us out online at maximumpc.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can email us at maximumpcpodcast@gmail.com. You can send us a message at our No BS hotline at 1-877-404-1337, extension 1337. You can subscribe to us on Google Play, iTunes, Kindle, Nook, and Zinio. On behalf of Gordon Ung, Tom McNamara, Elena Yee, I'm Jimmy Thang, and thank you for listening.